it's an interesting thing, the progress of, the story of Judy Garland to the big screen. There have been many previous incarnations of Judy Garland. There's a Judy Davis TV miniseries from 2001, Me and My Shadows, which I think was based on the memoirs of Lorna Loft. There's the stage play that this is based on, End of the Rainbow, which I hadn't seen, from 2005, which had its roots apparently in an earlier production called Last Song of the Nightingale, which was a kind of fictionalised story that was very close to this story and then kind of fed into this. There was news reports in 2009 that Anne Hathaway was going to be playing Judy Garland in a biopic. There was a BBC news story about it. I've just checked this morning, obviously, to check that it was completely legit, and it was, but that kind of went away. And now we have this, which is, as I said, adapted from a stage show with this kind of barnstorming central performance by Renee Zellweger, whom is already being touted as an Oscar contender. Anything that comes out this time of the year, we're in awards season, and I think it is an obvious kind of awards performance. I don't mean that to denigrate it in any way at all, but it's one of those things in which this is the kind of thing that gets recognised by the Oscars. So as you said in the interview, the film focuses on a particular chapter toward the end of her life, and which, weirdly enough, has a strange similarity with Stan and Ollie. It's that thing about, Hollywood heroes finding themselves slightly washed up on the British theatre stage. Although I think Stan and Ollie has a lighter, much lighter, more comedic touch to it. She's at the talk of the town, and as per the film, some of the shows she can do, some of them she can't do, because basically, she's separated from her kids. She misses her kids terribly. She has to do it because she has to make money, because amazingly, she's short of money. Amazingly, at the end of that career, she's short of money. And sometimes the audience are delighted and clap, and sometimes the audience are horrified and throw things. I mean, it is a very rhubarby audience in the film. And we then see flashbacks, as you said, and I think flashbacks to her on set of The Wizard of Oz, being bullied by Louis B. Mayer, who reminds her that, she'd be Frances Gumm if she wasn't doing all this stuff, that she may not be the best looking young girl, but her voice will make her $1 million, but only if she does exactly what it is that he tells her. One brilliant scene in which somebody says, "There's a birthday cake, don't eat it." It's not even her birthday, but there's a birthday cake and don't eat it. And there's I thought a heartbreaking little vignette with her when she says to Mickey Rooney, "Mickey, are we dating?" And he says, "No, we're just pals," which actually is it's a real sort of dagger to the heart. And so at the centre of it, you have this performance by Renee Zellweger, who does her own singing, throws herself into the performance, as you heard from that. Personally, I never lost sight of the fact that it was Renee Zellweger performing Judy Garland. I never had that moment that I did, I think, with Judy Davis to some extent, or with Joaquin Phoenix in Walk the Line, or to some extent with Dennis Quaid in Great Balls of Fire.
Marion Cotillard?
The Marion Cotillard, I've always had a problem with La Vie en Rose. I thought her performance was much better than the film. The example I was going to say was Sissy Spacek in Coal Miner's Daughter, in which you think that you are literally, that's what you're watching. You forget that you're watching any performance. So in the case of this, I did think that I was watching an actor, a very good actor, performing a legend. And there was a distance that I never got beyond. Now, that said, having seen the film and thought about it a little bit, you remember I said that I needed to see Jackie twice, because the first time I saw it, I couldn't get my head around Natalie Portman's central performance. It felt very stagey, very theatrical. And as I said, this has theatrical roots. But then, the second time around, I thought, well, actually that fits in with the film, because so much of Jackie was about her having to perform the role of Jackie Kennedy. And I thought, oh, well, actually, the second time around it seemed more appropriate. Well, since a kind of key thing about the story as told here on screen is when she says at one point, I'm only Judy for an hour. The rest of the time, so she actually pretty much says, look, Judy is a performance. And I think you could, perhaps charitably, but I think you could read it as the performative part of that performance actually fits with the show. And certainly it harks back to its theatrical origins and makes it less of a problem that I never got completely lost in it. I never thought, for all the physicality, for all the fact that she gets, there are certain moments when she's in silhouette when you think you've got that absolutely right. It's to do with the way the chin is held, the way the hand's held. It is a very, very fine theatrical performance. The narrative itself is very on the nose, and it is full of chubby moments, particularly in the flashbacks in which we are sort of very clearly told this leads to this, leads to this. As you say, there is a great darkness in the story. There really is a great darkness in the story. What I think sometimes gets lost, you said, she had a great sense of humour and the movie captures that. personally, I didn't find that it did capture that. I thought that it was much more sort of looking at the things that went wrong and why they went wrong in a very sympathetic way, but not having that kind of 1,000-watt light bulb effect of actually, what the magic of Judy Garland was, except in the two characters that you refer to, the Stan Dan characters, who are, fictionalized characters. And on the one hand, they exist to, I think they're put in there by Tom Edge, the screenwriter, as opposed from the original. At one point, on one level, they're put in there to kind of contextualize Judy Garland within the LGBT community and how important she was. And also just to remind us how much the world has changed, not least legally. But actually, for me, the most important thing about those two characters was that looking at them, looking at Judy, you got a sense of the joy that I thought was missing elsewhere in the film. There is a scene towards the end, which is a beautiful contrivance, but I think it is a well-earned contrivance, which is a moment of singing, which did reduce me to floods of tears, even as I thought this is a total contrivance, but I don't care because you've earned it. And those characters could easily have been done in a way that kind of just felt like a dramatic device. But for me, watching the look on Andy Nyman's face watching Judy Garland, I mean, the scene when they first meet her and they literally can't believe that because they go to every single show. I thought that was really well done and sort of really beautifully handled. There are some, very, very solid supporting performances all the way through. Jessie Buckley as the person whose job it is to make sure that Judy Garland actually gets on stage. It's a fairly small role, but I think she does it well. And she does give you a sense when Judy Garland first arrives, she's the person in whose face you see the, oh heavens, is this going to be all right? Because, the talk of the town is a big venue and there's all these press things and whether or not she's going to be up to it. I also thought it captured that kind of chaotic pinballing sense of, a life being knocked between pillar to post. There's a lot of talk about Born in a Trunk and living on stage, but I think you do get a sense of that kind of chaos that I'm sure that peripatetic onstage lifestyle caused. But it comes back in the end to whether or not you think that what the film is aiming to do is to give you the impression that you're watching Judy Garland, or whether what the film is aiming to do is to give you the impression that you're watching a performance that is about Judy Garland. There was some coverage recently from, family members saying, if you want to know about Judy Garland, go back and watch Judy Garland's movies. Well, yeah, they are there for all time and we will have that, and it's a great privilege that we do. But in a way, it may be to the film's benefit that what's happening with Zellweger's performance isn't that. It is like, do you know what I mean about that? It felt like a performance. It felt like inhabiting a role without embodying it.
I didn't think that I don't think I felt that when I watched that. I was thinking, what I did think is, I'm sure they made a deliberate decision to concentrate on the last 6 months of her life, but there are no glory years here.
No, it's that's what I mean about Stan and Ollie. It's like,
but
Stan and Ollie does beginning.
I wondered if we'd seen her at her magnificent best, whether that would have been somehow different, and maybe she was supposed to be, by this time she's wrung out, there's not much of her left.
No, but I would compare it to Stan and Ollie and say that, with the exception of the bit at the beginning, you do get that sense with the film, although I think that is a much lighter in tone film.